QuickBooks charges you $200 a month for financial reports, but now you can ditch it. AI just created this: a profit and loss, a balance sheet, accounts, receivable, and even an interactive dashboard, all from one Excel file. Today, I'm going to show you step by step how you can create the same dashboard with any Excel file and for free. Every business owner that I talk to says the same thing. They'd love to get out of paying $200 a month for QuickBooks, but their accountant is requiring them because of the reports. They need to send them the profit and loss, the balance sheet, and also the accounts receivable, payable reports, but they don't want to use QuickBooks just for that. And they want to keep their data in Excel, but the reports are an essential part of it. So today we're going to solve that problem, and absolutely free. I've got a great solution that is going to show you how you can take Excel data, create really amazing HTML dashboard to send to your accountant. So we're going to get started. All right, so I've got this company data here. So this is the Hartwell Property Services data. We've got dates and the transactions. We've got tons and tons of transactions spanning over a large period of time, over 1,000 transactions, and they include things like type, equity, expenses, everything that you would have from a company, including the category, the customer, the vendor, invoice number, amount, and of course the payment status and some notes. So we're going to take this transaction data, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring it into Claude, and we're going to work with Claude to develop a set of instructions. Once we have a dashboard that we're happy with, we're going to be able to take those instructions and export them, and we're going to be able to reuse them on any LLM, even for free, whether it's ChatGPT Codex or whether you're using Claude, Cowork, or any other LLM should be able to reproduce this dashboard using almost any set of data. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of how we actually create those instructions, and I'm going to make those instructions available for you so that you don't have to create them. And they're going to be available on my channel, of course. So just look under the video itself. If you're on YouTube, look for the word download. Under that's going to be a link to get you this set of instructions. And of course, I'll also make sure they're available on my website. It's also going to include this sample data. It's going to include the HTML dashboard that we're going to produce today. And it's going to include everything that you need, including all the instruction sets that you can simply drag and drop into any LLM. So we're going to get started right away. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open Claude up. I've got a brand new chat, and that's exactly what I want. Now keep in mind that I do have the Claude paid plan. However, once we create the instructions, you will not need a paid plan to generate a dashboard. It'll be very simple. So I'm simply going to take my sample data, which is our Hartwell Property Services, and I'm going to bring it in. I'm just going to start out with a simple prompt, and we're going to go from there. So in this prompt, I have an Excel file with business transaction data. Can you create an HTML financial report for the data? Now, it is not going to create the dashboard exactly that we want, but what we want to do is we want to use that as a starting place, and then we can work on it. I'm looking for an interactive dashboard. What I really want is I want multi-parts, and I also want a profit and loss report. I want to be able to drill down on that profit and loss to see the individual transactions. I want a balance sheet, and I want an accounts receivable aging report. So I want all that into a single click, but let's see what it can come up with first. We see that it did produce a pretty nice financial report, relatively, but it's not going to work for our accountant. We need a drill down profit and loss. We need a balance sheet and aging statements, but we do have kind of a decent dashboard here, so it isn't bad, right? We do have a pretty good summary, but we need to get a little bit more specific. Usually this is where most people stop, and we say, oh, at this point, well, Claude or your LLM can't produce dashboard for my account, but actually it can, as long as we give it more detail and the right prompt. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. So let's do this. I'm going to switch models here. Let's go with a medium, and I'm going to switch something like Opus 4.6. I think that should be sufficient for our needs. And I'm also going to add in a much more specific prompt. And let me show you what this is. So I'm going to say, okay, let's start over. And I want a proper profit and loss statement as a standalone HTML file. that they can open in any browser. So we want to be able to send it. We want monthly columns. We can get very specific. So I want per month data. I want to also group by revenue at the top so that I understand things like the cost of goods, the gross profit subtotal, and even the operating expenses by category. So I want the net income at the bottom. I want to make the revenue and gross profit rows clickable, so it has to be interactive. So when we send this to our accountant can actually drill down and look at the individual transactions, right? We want to make sure to format the numbers as currency. We want to use professional styling, just as a QuickBooks report would do. We also want to include the total columns on the right. We even very specifically say, make it look something that I'll hand to my accountant. So we're telling it, hey, it needs to be something that they're used to be looking at. And also the data types are revenue, expenses, cost of goods sold, asset, liability, equity as normal. And then we want to make sure to use the revenue section. So let's go ahead and give it to that and let it go to work directly on that. So we've already got this HTML, but we need a lot more than that. So let's go ahead and see what that can produce. And it's saying, now let me build this properly. Looking for a clean accountant grade profit and loss with 24 monthly columns, sticky labels, and expandable sections. And that's exactly what it wants. So it understood our requirements, at least from this standpoint. We're just hoping that it actually builds something that our accountant can use and look at and also appreciate without ever having to pay for QuickBooks. And that's the goal here. So it is now done. It says, here's the P&L. So we've got a P&L. So we have an expand all and a collapse all. I don't think that's working too well, so that's okay. Let's see if we can do it through here. No. So it looks good, but it's just not working right, which is fine. For now, click any bold row to expand it. So I don't see the ability. We'll make sure to let it know that it's not functioning the way we want it to. It does look like the data integrity is there. Let me bring it and we can expand it a little bit, but it looks good, as far as it looks, but I do want to make sure that we can expand. Let's go ahead and add an additional prompt to that. So we're going to make that specific request. And I also want to add in a balance sheet. So let's go ahead and paste in this prompt. It's great. So far, the total rows are not expanding properly and the collapse expand feature is not working. Also, please add a balance sheet tab to the same HTML file. And once again, we're going to describe it. So we want top navigation. We want to switch between P&L. So we want to make it completely interactive so that the user can do that. We also are going to describe exactly the balance sheet we want as far as the accounts receivable that are outstanding, invoices. We want to show the asset type transactions. And also we want to know the derived cash figure. We also want liabilities. What we owe other people is also critical. We want to know the balances of those loan and credit card repayments. As far as also as any balance sheet has, we also must have the owner's equity and showing the contributions, draws, and retained earnings. So we want all of that and we're going to add it in now. And we also want this issue fixed. So I'm going to go ahead and send that over and then we're going to let it run for a moment and have it make those fixes. And we'll take a look at our balance sheet and see how it's working. And it's in the process of assessing the issues and also rebuilding the file to this time include the balance sheet with the P&L. So it's going to put them together. Hopefully, we're going to take a look to see exactly the results of that in just a moment. All right, we now have a brand new report. Let's take a look at this. First, let's check the revenue and we want to make sure that this is going to expand. It's still not expanding, so we'll focus on that. However, it might work in HTML. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. What I want to do is I want to be able to download this and then I want to open it up in the browser and then it might just work in there. Okay, so still no, but we do have a balance sheet now. So this is kind of cool. So now we have assets, liabilities. We've got a nice balance sheet here. So it's really starting to come together. Although the profit and loss, I still want to have the ability to drill down and I'll make sure to mention that it's still not working. There's no drill down here, not yet. So let's go ahead, let's get that issue fixed before we do anything else. I do want to see that issue fixed. So let's focus on that first. So I'm just going to say, please double check expand collapse feature before moving forward. It's not working. So we're going to have it get to work on that and make sure that that's working so that we don't have it work on anything else, just that issue so that it does get fixed. Now keep that in mind that once it does fix those issues, I'll make sure to permanently put it inside the instructions so that it knows exactly how to rebuild this dashboard regardless of your data. And that's the critical part here. Once it learns, I'll make sure that it remembers because it'll be inside those instructions. And it says it found it, the CSS rule, whatever. I don't understand it, but somebody might. So hopefully it will fix. So let's take a look now. Oh, there we go. So now it is working. So that was a pretty quick fix. So it found the issue and now it looks good. So we have our drill down available. Let's do the expand all and collapse all. Perfect balance sheet. Okay, so now we've got two really good reports, but that's not enough. I need even more for our accountant. And what I need is the accounts receivable aging. That's really important. So I'm going to add a very specific prompt and we're going to go over it. So it's going to say now add the accounts receivable aging. This is the report, shows who owes us money. That's critical. So we know if things are getting out of the way, especially when customers are not paying. We need to follow up on that. I also want to know how to calculate the outstanding days revenue on a per transaction basis. Also the partial assuming, and also we're going to go into buckets. So we're adding more detail. We want to also group by customer. So if customers have more than one invoice that's overdue, so we want to know the total owed by customer. And also we were going to add a stacked horizontal bar chart showing each customer's aging. So I want to put this into a visual, and also the KPI summary. That's critical. So we're going to send all of that over. And also we want to make sure that the customer rows are clickable. So once again, I don't want this to just be a static report. I want it to be dynamic so that we can actually click into it to understand what makes up the totals. And that's really good because it becomes dynamic, it becomes active, so that when we give it to our accountant, they can understand the underlying data of those totals, which is really powerful. And it's something even QuickBooks doesn't have in every feature. So we're going to, in this case, we're going above and beyond QuickBooks in many ways. All right, after just a few minutes, we do have a file now. We now have accounts receivable aging, AR aging. So this looks good. We do have a lot. We've got sorting by total, sort by 90 days. That looks pretty impressive. We do have some KPIs at the top. On a per customer basis, as far as the current, the 31 through 60, we've got some good hover actions so we can actually see the values on hover. We can sort by total, also working above. So this looks good. We do want the drill down. So we have the drill down on a per customer basis, and we can see the individual invoices. I'm very, very impressed. I really do like the way that this looks. I'll make sure that the profit and loss is working the way we want it to. And of course, the balance sheet. This is looking pretty good. So far, I'm quite happy with this. But what this still needs is a dashboard to tie everything together, including KPIs. So I really want that. Now, we do have the profit and loss, which is nice and stuff, but I want the full dashboard. We've got some KPIs here for the accounts receivable, but I want that. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask it to add a dashboard in the first tab. So I want that as the primary, and we want it moved before. So we're telling it exactly the position that we want. We're gonna ask for some KPI cards at the top. We were telling it exactly, we want the revenue, gross profit with margin. We also want the net income with the margin percentage. And also we want it in a line area chart. We want net income. So all these details are going to go into this dashboard. We're telling it even that we want the horizontal chart here. Let's bring this back up here. So we're adding in the horizontal bar chart showing the top 8 clients, a small area chart. So we're very, very specific with our prompts so that we know exactly. And once again, you will not have to go through this process, because once this process is done, I'm going to use a final prompt, and that final prompt is going to tell Claude to put everything it's learned into a single skill, and I'm going to be sending you that skill. But I do want you to understand the process of what it takes to create these skills so that you can recreate them or customize them yourself if you want. And the dashboard that you get may not be exactly how you want it, but you can simply ask Claude or whatever LLM to make adjustments on the skill and then save and update that once you do get the skill exactly the way you want. You just tell it, please save this skill for later, and then it'll update the skill and you can download it and you can distribute the skill along also with the dashboard that you're choosing. So that's exactly what's really critical inside this is to be able to be repeatable. So we want these repeatable actions so that we don't need to recreate it every time. Once you do it, whether you're sending your accountant these reports monthly, all you need to do is drag in your current Excel file, drag in the instructions, and boom, in one shot, it is done. You can send your accountant the HTML file at that point. Okay, so it's now given us a dashboard. It's given us the summary. Let's take a look at that. We have inside our monthly revenue versus expenses. We also have the revenue by service type. That can be very helpful, along with a great hover effect. We also have the top clients by revenue, also very nice and handy, along with a net profit margin. Looks like August we had an issue. That's my birthday month. So also it says margin pressure, net margin has been volatile, swinging between 14 and 49%, while the 2-year average. So we've got a little summary that's going to really help our accountant understand what is going on. So I really like these insights that it's given us. And we do notice that we do have a single click. We can now move from the dashboard all the way to the profit and loss, which still has the drill down capability. We still have a balance sheet, which looks really good. And we also have the accounts receivable aging, also with the drill down capability. Things are looking really good. What I really want now is more of a date range so that a user can filter by date or select by date. That could be really helpful inside this dashboard. And so to do that, we're going to add an additional prompt. Now what I want is add a date range filter button to the header, all 2024, 25, and then we're giving it very specific ranges, H1, H2. And then also when I click a filter, all the tabs should recalculate the KPIs, the charts, the P&L, so everything. That can be really helpful. So let's go ahead and send this off. And that's going to be one of the last prompts we do. We'll also want to have a print button. I want to be able to print this. And theoretically, we could add an email button. So all that can be helpful. So let's go ahead and see what it can do with this particular date range filter that we have just given it. And this way, your accountant can actually print the reports that it sees. So that's very helpful, or you can print it out and send it to him. But the beauty of it is just to give your accountant this HTML file and let them do what they want. They will be very impressed. Right, so basically it's saying it rewrote the entire architecture. Now this is nice. Now we've got periods. This looks good. We've got full featured buttons, and I do really like this. Let's check the profit and loss. So here we have our numbers changing on a per year basis. Very good. And the balance sheet, of course, that can be modified as well. And also the individual accounts receivable, that shouldn't change too much, but it does refresh. Very good. So we've got a really cool filter based on individual dates and dashboards, exactly as we have requested. So it followed our instructions precisely. Now I simply just want to give it the ability to print out. So we're going to ask it to add a print button in the header. When clicked, it should print the current tab in a clean format. And also we want to hide the navigation buttons and controls, just show the report content, and we're going to add a CSS print styles. So we've given it very specific instructions, and my session limit's up, but that's okay. We're going to keep working. All right, let's take a look. It now has the print current tab, but what I really want to do is I want to bring this into the browser, because it is the browser in which we're going to be giving it to our accountant. So that's exactly what I want to see inside Chrome. So I've got the URL. I'm going to take this initial one. I'm just going to replace it because we have our brand new one. So I'm just going to paste in the URL, which is local. And we now have a nice dashboard inside the browser. So we can see it is working correctly directly inside our browser. We want to make sure that we can select on the individual profit and loss and the individual transactions. We have our full balance sheet with an equal balance. That's good. We have our accounts receivable aging with our hover effects. Let's go ahead and I want to see all good. Dynamic data looking really good. And our drill down inside our accounts receivables. We can also sort by, which is nice. Everything is working correctly. Let's check the print. We want to make sure to print. So the print's working good. Well, let's load the preview. And also without the header, notice that the header and the buttons are not here, exactly what we want on the print. So that's working good. So I'm really happy with this, but what I want to do now is I want to take this and I want to put it into a skill that can be repeated. Basically, it's instructions so that we don't have to go through this process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a very specific prompt, and that individual prompt is going to tell it to basically now take everything that we've just built and package it into a reusable skill. Now, a skill is simply an instruction file that can be repeated time and time again. we're going to just say it should accept any Excel file. So that means when you use it, it'll take your Excel file. With transaction data, it's got columns, date, type, so just the general column data, so that's going to be fine. Also, we want to generate a complete financial report suite automatically. So that means a single prompt, the single Excel file, and it's done, not back and forth. And we're going to tell it to include all 4 tabs, include interactive, and basically write the skill as a markdown. MD file is what we want, and so that the markdown can be read by any LLM. That is the official structure of how LLMs can read the data. So we're going to put it to work, and it's going to create that. And of course, this MD file, the instruction skill file, I'm going to be making available to you. So make sure you do grab it. Also, I'll be adding even more to this dashboard. I'll be adding lots of more features next week, but that's going to be only for our elite members. So it's the best time to get in. Once you do join our elite membership, you'll also have access to 240 previous updated trainings and templates not seen before. So you're going to get full access. So I do hope to see you inside our elite membership. That is a great place to be. There's so many advantages, and I'll be taking your ideas and your feedback and putting it into next week's elite membership updated training, which is for our members. All right, so we're going to let it go to work. It's going to build that skill file, and then we're going to see if it actually works. We're going to bring that skill file into a brand new chat with our data, and it should reproduce this dashboard. And that skill will have several parts because it'll have the instruction file, and it also is going to have the script. So it'll be a combination of those files in order to give it not just the instructions, but the actual script that it created. And that way it can be duplicated again and again, regardless of the Excel data that you give it. And this is what makes it so powerful. Any LLM should be able to read this and create the same dashboard. All right, very good. It is done. It passed all the tests. It's got a completed zip file. I'll be sending you this along with everything else. So the zip file that I'll be sending you will have this financial skill zip file, and that contains a skill MD, which is the instructions, Python scripts, which is 515 lines. That's the engine to give it. Also the proof, it's got the HTML. So everything is here. I'll make sure to get that. Let's see if it passes the final test, which is recreating this inside a brand new Claude chat. And so let's go ahead and open a brand new chat. I'm gonna click on new chat here. And also what I want to do is I want to bring in that zip file that just created. And of course, I'm also going to bring in my sample data, which is what I need, my Hartwell. Along with those two, I'm going to ask for a full dashboard. So I'm going to say, please create a full dashboard according to the attached instructions and data. I'll use Excel data. Financial data. So that's going to be it. Now we're going to put it to work, and we're going to see if it can recreate the exact same dashboard according just with the instructions that we've given it. And it's already working on creating the file. Wow, so that was pretty quick. It did it quite fast. And we also have this. So it looks exactly the same. We also have the dashboard, the profit and loss. So it may be slightly different. I do notice some small difference, but essentially it is good. And we do have the drill down. Everything is working good. We were actually able to recreate this very well. So it built up an excellent skill. We can now hand this dashboard, the HTML file, to our accountant. Our accountant will be impressed, and we will not need to spend any more money on QuickBooks. We can simply use Excel and our LLM of choice to create dynamic dashboards. I hope you have enjoyed this training as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Don't forget to like, share, comment. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.